Hello everyone, I'm Emily. Welcome to the first episode of Shrieky Friday. Each episode I'll be inviting a fan of horror to discuss their favourite film. If you are interested in hearing what we think about different horror films which have been released in 2019, 2020 and 2021, then this is the podcast for you. For this episode I have Anna with me, who I would say is an even bigger horror fan than me. We will be talking about the horror film Us, directed by Jordan Peele, who is also known for the film Get Out. The film was released on the 22nd of March 2019. It is a really clever film where, accompanied by her husband, son and daughter, Aislinn Wilson returns to the beachfront home where she grew up as a child. Haunted by a traumatic experience from the past, Aislinn grows increasingly concerned that something bad is going to happen. Her worst fears soon become a reality when four masked strangers descend upon the house, forcing the Wilsons into a fight for survival. When the masks come off, the family is horrified to learn that each attacker takes the appearance of one of them. A shocking, inventive and often funny horror movie.
My favourite horror film is Us because I think the concept is really clever. My favourite subgenre is slasher because it's very intense and engaging. The first horror film I watched was The Conjuring and I really enjoyed it with all the paranormal activity that was going on, and it just started my love for horror films.
Why is horror your favourite genre?
Horror is my favourite genre because it takes you out of reality and puts you in the moment that is happening in the film because of how intense it is.
What was the most recent horror film you watched?
The most recent horror film I watched was The Woman in Black. I did quite like it, but I felt like there were some moments where it was just quite flat, and I prefer it when it's intense throughout the whole thing. I thought that the scissors were interesting, but I wasn't too sure on the relevance of them.
They are the film's violent mascot, which is symbolic. For some of you that haven't watched the film, duality is the theme of Us. What were your opinions on Lupita's voice that she did? She actually worked with a doctor, a vocal therapist and a dialect coach to develop a speech pattern similar to spasmodic dysphonia. The disorder actually causes spasms in the throat muscles, which results in vocal distortion. I thought it was a really interesting take on the character.
Once upon
My favourite character was Lupita, but mainly when she was a young girl, just because I think that character in particular is really interesting, especially the younger girl's shadow.
I think the use of Hands Across America was a really clever thing to base the movie on.
Yeah, I really liked that sense of unity that it created.
What were your thoughts when the shadows of the families turned up at the house?
Initially I was quite confused and I was like, hang on, they're in the house. But then when I realised that they were sort of a more sinister side of the real life family, I was like, oh okay, where is this going? So I was quite intrigued.
By using a family in the storyline, do you think it made it more tense than if the movie was just about one person?
Yes, because I think it showed the relationships that they had as a family, and involving younger children within the movie as well. You feel more sympathy towards them when they are in danger, just because they are so young and innocent. I think the fact that they have people that are living above ground and also then the shadows that make an appearance, I find that quite interesting because it makes you wonder, where did these shadows come from? And until you get further into the movie, you don't know how many people in the world have a shadow. Like at the beginning, for all we know, it is just that family.
The ending of the film has a real twist where we actually find out that the Lupita that we thought was the same as the
little girl at the start actually earlier on ended up switching characters with the shadow. They just disguised it. What did you think about the ending of the film?
I was honestly shocked when I first watched it because I didn't expect for the Lupita that we thought was the real mum to actually be the shadow. So I was, just quite shocked, really.
At the very end, after we discover that the Lupita characters changed and switched when they were younger, the film ends with a zoom out showing all the red doppelgangers around the United States joining together holding hands, which is similar to Hands Across America. This adds context to the film and makes the audience feel like there's a real purpose.
I really liked how we saw that zoom out at the end, because when they went down to where the shadows were living, up on the chalkboards there was a paper chain with people holding hands, so I thought that made it tie together quite nicely.
Was the ending a shock to you?
Yeah, it was a massive shock because I wasn't expecting the Lupita that we thought was the mum to actually be the shadow. It makes it clear why the shadow of Lupita would have wanted revenge on the family, because she obviously knows what it's like to be up on Earth in comparison to what it's like to be underground in the shadows.
I've heard from reviews that a lot of people were disappointed by the ending of it, which is crazy to me because I think it was a really effective ending. I don't know about you, but were you disappointed or satisfied by the ending?
I was definitely satisfied by the ending because it was something that I didn't even imagine was going to happen, so it was really nice to have that last minute sort of, oh, it might be the end, but here's another surprise for you. It sort of made you feel like there was more that could have been told after the story.
On Review Aggregator on Rotten Tomatoes, the film has an approval rating of 93% based on 553 reviews, with an average rating of 7.9 out of 10.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, obviously it wouldn't be for everyone has their own opinions, but I'd definitely rate it on the higher side because I personally really enjoyed this movie. I'd probably give it an 8 or 9 because obviously with everything there is room for improvement probably, and you know, there are some bits that you could go okay, but you could give a little bit more, and if those moments had a bit more, then that's probably what would push it up to a 10 for me.
Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of B on an A+ to F scale, while those at Post Track gave it an overall positive score of 80%, with 60% saying they definitely recommend it. I agree with Rolling Stone saying it's still so scary, as when I was watching it with my dad, he actually, on one of the jump scares, he made me jump by screaming, and I spilt tea all over my mum.
Did he like scream as a joke, or did he scream because he was genuinely scared?
No, it was actually like a scared, like frightened scream. I actually found a really surprising review that said that Overrated Us is one of the worst films recently released that I had a chance to see. The plot is annoying and illogical with a terrible sense of story.
It's a bit like Marmite.
Overall, what did you think about them opinions?
I think some of them are shocking and I don't necessarily agree with them all, but that's just a personal opinion.
Thank you for listening to Shrieky Friday. Be sure to listen next Friday for another discussion on a new horror film. Please subscribe to be notified for every episode released. You can watch the horror film Us on Amazon Movies or YouTube.